Shooting it raw?
Yes. Shooting it raw. So now in this photograph, you hinted at it before, and we're gonna get into it. So in the photo, so you're standing, holding an oboe.
Mm-hmm. There's Nemo, my oboe.
Nemo, you're holding Nemo, your oboe. Behind on the screen is a slide of a very nice logo of the name Arbory, which I understand is your band.
Yeah.
And then behind you, I see like amps, and I see what looks like maybe a drum kit on the right, but definitely the fiddle. And we're talking about costume before. I don't think you're in costume in this one.
No, just formal-ish gig. So this was a gig where we had to be kind of smart, but it doesn't have to be white tie, black tie, kind of smart.
Let's just wait for the... Sorry.
Helicopter landing.
Is it landing?
Yeah, it's coming down.
Switch.
As a performer, I should be doing this regularly.
Yeah.
And so I've been doing this with the medieval night, pushing myself to do that, and pushing myself with the accordion player. That's because we've got two very different musicians working together, and it's really making me change how I view things, change how I see things, change how I work on things, and so it's very good for me. That's pushing me out of my comfort zone. And this is going to tie very nicely into the oboe.
Great.
Just pushing myself to do things that I've always wanted to do, but I'd never had the confidence before.
Okay.
And I'm finally reaching a point where I just say, just do it, Jenny. So when you asked, I thought my initial response was, I have nothing valuable to bring to a podcast. But then I thought, just do it.
It turns out you're wrong.
Wow.
So far, okay, last photo. It's all downhill from here. No, don't worry. Okay, so in this photograph, when was it made?
This would have been March 2020 at Laubach, the restaurant / venue in the West Kowloon Cultural District. Free space.
Oh.
And we were very lucky. They let us come do a gig at the restaurant, and it was so much fun.
Oh, wicked.
Yeah, and this was my first time performing on oboe in a long time, and I was very nervous. And because Nemo and I, that's my oboe, we were inseparable in the UK. When I was doing my folk and traditional music degree, fiddle was my secondary instrument, really. It was the one that I had more lessons on, just because it was difficult for them to find me an oboe teacher. And my fiddle playing did improve a lot. I had a wonderful teacher, Katrina MacDonald. She was fantastic. She really helped me to become much more confident with my playing.
Right.
So I left the degree a completely different fiddler in amazing ways.
Sure.
But definitely oboe was the one that I felt confident on. It was the one that I would want to play more.
Right.
I identified more as an oboist than I did a violin player or a fiddler. All of my friends from university, they'll tell you, that it was just a part of me.
Right. Well, you named it. I mean, like,
it's got a name.
So it's like, it's obviously...
Actually, he has a name.
He has a name, okay.
Yeah. And every gig I did, he would be with me. We would be doing the gig together.
Right.
Whereas now, most of my gigs in Hong Kong, it's the fiddle, and the oboe is the secondary instrument.
Does the fiddle have a name?
No.
See, the fiddle doesn't have a name, but your oboe does.
I know.
That's an interval. Okay, so I mean, is it pop psychology that I have these conversations and like, oh, what does this mean? And then it was, oh, what? So, so here we have you moving to Hong Kong, in a way, shaping yourself to the opportunities that come up here. some of them require a fiddle. Some of them require living on or off llama. Some, you're taking these jobs, and then you decide. Like earlier, you mentioned it, I only mention it because you said it in a way that made me notice. Where you said, I consciously decided not to be a full-time musician.
Yeah.
Right. So, and I could see on your face that was a decision of some importance, and so. Now, as you're evolving through COVID, as you're growing yourself, you suddenly rediscover Nemo, right?
Yeah, I just reached a point where I thought, if I don't start playing again now, I may never play the oboe again.
Right.
I have a wonderful friend from university. Whose mother, also a lovely friend of mine, she would give us teaching work at her school every summer, and she used to play the oboe.
Oh.
And I remember her telling me that she just stopped playing one day and just never picked it up. And British me at that point, I'm still British, but like the girl that was living in the UK before moving to Hong Kong, couldn't imagine ever not playing the oboe.
Okay.
And then I moved here, and it just, for various different reasons, owing to weather in the summer, because a lot of gigs are outside. It's so hot.
Right.
I did play it with a piper when I first moved here, same piper that's in Arbery, Chris. And I kind of would get very lightheaded. I actually think I fainted one time.
Oh wow!
Because the oboe is there's a lot of pressure to play the oboe, and when it's this hot and this humid, that's not a great combination. So indoors with air conditioning, much easier, but a lot of the gigs I was getting were in bars.
Right,
and
right.
The oboe just
gets lost, or
miking it up is difficult, and it just didn't seem to, it wasn't wanted by a lot of the people that I was playing with. I don't mean that in a bad way, it's just I made it sound really terrible.
No, it's funny. Poor Nemo.
I know, yeah.
We have to start a Nemo fan club.
Like, with the punk band, for example, I think I made a joke one time where I was like, I'm going to bring my oboe, and they all just look at me like I'm crazy. A nutter.
So, how, I guess you'd have to be a musician in a punk band, a folk punk band, to get that, to understand why that's even a thing, or how that could be a thing. Okay.
Yeah, so with the oboe, I just wasn't playing it as much, and then it just kind of got put away in a case, and then all the gigs were being done on fiddle, and I, next thing you know, 5 years has passed, and I haven't played. And interestingly, this meant that I kind of but like I kind of discovered who I am without the oboe, because I think we'd been so inseparable in the UK. I kind of identified myself through an instrument, and I don't really think that's healthy. Moving to Hong Kong, I've been able to find out who I actually am without the music, and be okay with who I am. Right. Eventually, I'm getting there.
But isn't that a trajectory or a journey or a path that, that we all, like, to a certain extent, you have the sense of self, especially when you come out of university. You it's such an intense time, and you're growing and changing, and all you're trying to decide who you really are. Yeah. And then, so in your mind, you have this identity that you, in your case, you attach. You really anchored it to Nemo, and then you start discovering or developing beyond that. And but how? Okay, if you were to find a thread leading from the UK, following you along, oboe, violin, living on Lamma, performing, not having your audiences, the isolation, in a way, like, it's really interesting that as a performer, you depend, and I love the way you describe it, like your crash pad. Like, I've done rock climbing. So your crash pad is the audience, right? Which is so interesting to use that word. And then, but the thing that you found such deep resonance, pun intended, is that it's through archery.
Yeah.
And so, which is very solitary.
True.
So how do you tie all that together?
I tie it all together by the calmness that archery has brought me has made me be able to just go out. And so, for example, now that Hong Kong is doing okay with the cases, I think we haven't had any
like 40
local
days
ones.
or whatever.
Yeah, it's just been imported, right?
Yeah.
So, sticking with all the guidelines, of course, doing the 6 people at a table now, or like basically whatever the bars or the restaurants tell us is allowed. We're sticking to the rules, but just being able to go out and socialize, but being able to do that as a sane person. Because before I moved to Lamma, I was in New Territories and I wasn't seeing people, and I was still going into work. My school was still open, but we didn't have the kids there.
Okay.
And the teaching staff was we were all social distancing. So
right.
Only half the school was in. We're a tiny school. So we've got, I think, our staff number is 23 people. And in one day, 12 people would be in. And
right.
The other half would be in. And so I was just not seeing anyone. And honestly, I think I forgot how to socialize.
Okay, well, there was that impact.
Because I wasn't doing the gigs and I wasn't going out and I wasn't seeing people. And when I was at work, we were socially distancing. And this went on for months, as people across the world can understand this.
Yeah.
Again, I know it's nothing special, but the archery has been able to keep me focused, give my mind clarity, help me regulate my emotions. So all of the stress that was building up, because I wasn't releasing it at gigs and I wasn't releasing it on like going for dinners with friends and just having a good time and or just being out. I wasn't doing any of this. So the archery gave me that release so that when I did finally start going out again, being able to do gigs, I was able to regulate myself. The stress wasn't pouring all out.
Right,
there were times, my friends will tell you this, there were times when I wasn't in control.
Sure.
Which is, I feel sad to admit, but it's also good for me to be able to say that out loud. There have been times where I have just been a complete mess.
Right.
But archery has helped me, and bringing back my oboe skills, all of this has helped me to self-regulate, can keep my emotions controlled, and I'm doing much better now, especially since moving to Lamma.
Right.
Doing much better now. Right. And so I'm able to actually go out and enjoy the relaxed measures now.
Sure.
Without worrying that I'm going to, I don't know, start crying or something, or like get a bit overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Like with the gig in the mall, I remember the first time I did it, I was genuinely worried that I was going to get overwhelmed because there were so many people around.
Yeah. No, I understand.
But actually, the K-level mall is fine. It's really not that crowded. And when you're playing there, you have members of the staff walking around making sure people don't come too close. So actually, it was quite nice.
Nice.
But yeah, I think that's how I would explain why archery is such a solitary thing can help me to be more social, because it's helped me to start that journey of really self-regulating and letting things go, focusing on myself and the actions that I'm doing and making sure I'm just being a good person in society. And
you describe yourself as being like this,
trying to be a good person.
You seem very well adjusted. The archery seems to be working.
Moments.
We all do. So listen, Jenny Page, look, this has been great. I've had you. We've been speaking for a while now, and thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
I'm glad I pushed myself to do this.
So is life really a gift? Really? Can you make every second count? That's the whole point of the podcast. So if you like what you've seen and you're inspired, because that really is my mission, then please give it a like, subscribe, and share.
Shooting it raw?
Yes. Shooting.